Something a little different today. What we have here is a box I found about a decade ago, left at a dump, ready to go to the landfill. Inside this box we have a camcorder with accessories included. Inside the box we have a Toshiba SK-F200 VHS camcorder, a power supply, an extra carrying strap, and underneath this hatch here we have a device for connecting to the television. So on one end you have the AV out from the camera, and on the other end you have coaxial inputs to connect this to your television so you can watch your video cassettes on TV. Unfortunately, there is no microphone or battery included, but it's probably best for the battery at least, because a battery that's over 30 years old probably wouldn't hold a charge. On the bottom of the viewfinder it says manufactured September 1989. Having a look around the device, over here on the right side we have the tape loading, start stop for video, another start stop for video as well, power zoom, so wide and telephoto, and a BLC here. I'm not sure what that does. On the top here we have a shoe. It isn't powered. You can put some kind of accessories here, maybe a light, microphone perhaps. Carrying handle. And here is the input for the electronic viewfinder. And it goes over here to this piece here. On the front is, of course, the lens. And over here we have infrared, I believe it's an infrared remote sensor here. So if you have a remote control, you can remotely operate the camera's functions. Left side of the camera, we have, it says 8 times optical zoom. Inside this camera we have a 1/2 inch 0.3 megapixel CCD. It markets itself as a precision CCD. Here's your zoom controls. This is if you want to use the zoom manually. And if you go past this part here on the bottom, you have super macro, so you can do really close recordings. So if you have something that's right in front of the lens, it will be in focus in this range here. And once this blue button here pops back out, you're in normal range again. And it won't go past that with the power zoom. You need to push it back in if you want to go back to super macro, and it'll go in. And now you can use power zoom in this range. At the bottom here we have a slider for adjusting manual focus. So by default the camera is in autofocus mode, but if you were to push it forwards like that, it would go into one-shot mode, which means that it's manual focus as long as you're holding it forwards. If you push it back, it will be in manual mode until you push it back once more, and then it goes back to automatic mode. Over here you have your fader controls, so you can fade to white or to black. Full auto, basically there isn't many manual settings on this camera other than the zoom and the shutter, but basically this is like a quick button for going back to full auto settings instead of doing them one by one if you've got a few manual settings. 1/100 shutter just puts the camera in the fastest shutter speed. White balance, you can set a custom white balance as long as you're looking at something that can be used as a point of reference. Rec review, index. I haven't used these functions in my recordings, and display. I believe that creates an overlay in your videos, showing the time and the date. Here's your microphone input. So as you can see, it has a 3.5 millimeter jack here. It takes active microphones. It doesn't take passive microphones, unfortunately. I don't have any active microphones to test it, but I have attempted to put a passive microphone in it and didn't get any signal. On the front we have a connector for what I think would have been the original microphone that this camera came with. We have what looks like a gain switch here, so you can go from either low or high gain, and the circuitry inside would adjust the electrical signal based on what mode you have it set in. On the side we have a speaker and the battery unlock, or in my case the AC adapter would be released. On the top we have the playback controls, so we have a sliding door that goes from your recording controls to playback controls. So the playback controls are basically what you'd expect. Rewind, play, fast forward, pause, stop, slow. These settings here are for dubbing. So the camera itself has some inputs on the back here. So from the very left we have AV out. So as I showed before, that's for going from AV out to coaxial. So you can view your videos on TV. We have a video in here, which is a composite video in. So this is for dubbing video onto a tape that you have. Audio in, it's also for audio dubbing. We have a sync edit there. V unlock, I'm not sure, V lock. And we have headphone inputs here, so you can do live monitoring with headphones. And also you have a wheel here which adjusts the headphone volume as you're listening. Here's where the battery goes on. There's also a 12 volt input here, so if you really wanted to use this nowadays with a battery, you can just buy a lithium ion 12 volt battery, plug it in, and attach it somehow to the back of this, and you'd basically have a battery powered camera. Here's some more controls. You also have a slider here that you can set what kind of tape you have, so you can go from T120 or T160. For this review I've got a T120 tape prepared, as you can see here, by RCA. Pushing this panel over, here are your recording settings. So on the right here we have interval settings. At the top we have the date and hour settings for setting the time and day. Over here we have the hatch for the 3 volt lithium cell that keeps the time and day. And I've never changed this. I don't know if it has the original battery in it from the 80s, or if the battery has been changed at some point before this camera came in my possession. So this battery is at least 10 years old, and it's still going, so there we are. Over here we have the set and select settings, so this is for navigating the day and date modes when you set the time and day. Okay, so I've plugged in the AC adapter into the outlet. It's showing power. So now we're going to plug it into the back of the camera and test out its functions then. Okay, I've opened up the viewfinder. Now the camera is on. What we have here is a black and white CRT viewfinder with an eye cup. And you can adjust the diopter settings over here at the bottom. Let's try loading in a tape. So I'm going to take that tape that I showed you in the beginning, the RCA, and load it into it. There it is. Tape's inside. When you're ready to record, push the panel over. Camera says that it's ready. And the red LED on the front begins to blink, indicating that it's ready to record. Once you start recording, it turns to solid, as you can see. When you're finished recording, press stop. Push the panel over, and now you're in playback mode. If you're curious to see what a video recorded with this camera looks like, it looks like this.